So I just watched Feral Scream Part 2, and man, you had no idea a Transformer could grow up so fast after spending millions of years being the same. Otherwise known as the reason cyber puberty is a statement I will never be able to scrub out of my brain. Feral Scream Part 2 is picking up right where we left off with Part 1. We've got the mystery behind what's going on with Cheetor, the mysterious creature that is in no way related to it, as well as more mystery behind exactly what a Transmetal 2 is. And this episode has a very different tone because it's going for something a little bit different here. So we're picking up in this episode with Cheetor having yet another dream sequence. This is, I believe, the third this third prophetic dream that he has had. So this one is about his current transformation, what's happening to him. He is terrified that he is a monster, or he's becoming a monster that will be ridiculed and thusly rejected by his friends. We're midway through season 3 at this point, and it does feel very late in the game for Cheetor to once again be tackling insecurity amongst his peers. At this point, it felt like the growing up part from that has already happened. It felt like it happened in season 1, and it wasn't really an issue in season 2. So to suddenly bring it up now, like, understand, there's something very strange going on to him. It can be a shock to the system. Okay, I get that. But I don't like the implied lack of trust in the people that he has been literally battling a war with for the past 2.5 seasons. It just doesn't feel like where Cheetor should be at this point. But they have to put up some kind of conflict. I will say that for Feral Scream in general, I feel like episode 1 got packed with a ton of stuff, and then episode 2 had to find stuff to fill the time. Like this tension between him and Primal that's going to go on over his reluctance to admit what's happening to him, I feel like is just entirely unnecessary, or at the very least does not need to be played up as hard as it is in this one. But my opinion. Let's continue and I'll explain everything here. So the whole mystery of this, like we see this strange thing happening to Cheetor, this glowing green energy that is happening to him, and his reluctance to accept any kind of help despite how much damage he's gone through. And then exemplified by the fact that Cheetor is alone in his room, and then all of a sudden the Transmetal 2 Cheetah is burst out of the room and runs off. Gee, I wonder what's going on. And the hero cast has no idea. You know who does is Megatron, who immediately just spots Cheetor on a security cam and immediately knows what happened. Sabotaged the Transmetal 2 process and upgraded himself at the same time. So what could have been this kind of interesting mystery behind all this, and what might have had a little bit more tension, is completely blown because Megatron just flat out says, oh, that's Cheetor. Alright, so I mean, it's not that it's a hard one to explain. Okay, so Cheetor is going missing, and something weird is happening to him, and here's this mysterious cheetah creature. Okay, it's not exactly Sherlock Holmes, is it? You know, it's meant for a kid to put together and feel smart because they put it together faster than the heroes did. But man, it just doesn't feel like their quality of storytelling. When they've done such good stories in the past, it just feels like they missed an opportunity here to really play up the mystery, actually pretend Cheetor was gone for longer than they did, and really just push this mystery like what this other creature is. Instead of just flat out saying, oh, well, yeah, it's Cheetor. I don't know. I will give you a few fun notes that we saw at this point. We got to look at Cheetor's room, which has a few things strewn about it. For starters, the alarm clock he's using is the watch that Megatron had in Coming of the Fusors. And also, there is a photo of Primal and Cheetor together in their Season 1 bodies. So he's been sitting on that photo for a long time. You know, so little bits of personality and touches to Cheetor. So a real emphasis in this episode is exactly what a Transmetal 2 is, because we've seen how strong Dinobot 2 is, and we've seen what Cheetor can do in his new form, but we were also seeing this like transformative green energy that's coming off of him, and it's radiating from his spark. And to keep in mind, this was when they first started putting sparks in the toys themselves. So now they're really emphasizing not only the fact that the spark is there, but where it is on their body. On the Transmetal 2 Cheetor toy, it's in his hip. So for some reason in the show, we now have to explain why the spark, which on literally every other character was where the heart should be, is now in Cheetor's hip. So maybe it's a spark access point. I don't know, but it is a weird call. They also decided this is when sparks should have a metaphysical aspect to them. So suddenly, like, you can link sparks together, or like Primal can channel his spark into Cheetor's, which, I mean, there's a few like nearly dying protoform moments where it felt like that really probably should have been a thing you could have done to help him. Eraser comes to mind. But now it's just kind of thrown in because it's part of the toys aspect. So we got to push the toys aspect a little bit. But I don't think it distracts too much from it, because we're trying to push Transmetal 2 as having something more like of a metaphysical thing. We'll see that more after we get another Transmetal 2 in the mix. Speaking of said Transmetal 2 we'll get later, there's actually this really good moment that Silverbolt gets with Blackarachnia where she's showing concern for Cheetor, and it's actually driving some jealousy out of Silverbolt. We've seen the tension between Silverbolt and Cheetor before over Blackarachnia. So it's nice that they haven't dropped it. It adds a little bit of gray shades to Silverbolt, who rarely shows any shades of gray in his persona. But also gives Cheetor something to do as well. What I like is that it comes across like Blackarachnia is interested in Cheetor when we know for real she's interested in the Transmetal 2 design. She's interested in that power. And now in possession of the driver, she's considering doing it to herself. At the end of the episode where she actually gets to see Cheetor in person and actually gets to talk to him, it does come across as flirting, which is the manipulative kind of femme fatale side of Blackarachnia coming out. She knows that that's going to get Cheetor to loosen his guard up a little bit and, you know, let her have a little bit more access to what his new form looks like and what his experiences are, just so she can gauge if that's what she wants. So it's her being her manipulative self, though in this point we don't know if it's for nefarious means or not, which is still the fun of Blackarachnia in the early Season 3. It comes across very flirty, but as usual with Blackarachnia, it is a little bit more selfishly driven. Or in her case, I feel more survival driven. So, yeah, that whole scene, I like. It's a small moment, but I like how much it plays into things. Optimus has a really strong showing in this episode twice over. So the first comes when he has to get info out of depth charge, and when he refuses, Primal literally starts pushing him around and threatening to rip his processors out. And it's a side of Primal we very rarely see, like this super serious take charge Primal, and it really shows just how much he cares about Cheetor, that he's willing to let his buttons be pushed this hard, and he's willing to push back. That's a big thing. And it actually draws not only the info out of depth charge, but also an apology, which is a little bit weird, but it definitely shows just how much Primal can put his foot down. And then later on, when he's reunited with Cheetor, and he knows what's going on. This is something to point out, is that Primal, ever since he saw that beast in the shadows at the end of Feral Scream Part 1, he's known what's been going on. And everything he's learned since then has only confirmed it. So he wants Cheetor to admit what's going on himself, to trust him enough to tell him that something is happening to him. And it shows Primal's change from how he used to command in Season 1, which was very by the books, to now where he knows how to take a more fatherly approach with Cheetor. It's a really good changeover, and it really does emphasize how much Primal has grown. For a character that may not show how much his own character has evolved over the course of this show, is a really strong showing of how it's gone. So that part I really do like. The final battle in this one is pretty brief. It's pretty brief. So we get the dramatic reveal for the new form, which is cool. And we do get a beast mode battle with Dinobot, which I love that we have like an arbitrary beast mode appearance for Optimus Prime just for the sake of showing the beast mode, and then straight into like actual practical use of the beast modes for a really cool fight scene. It's very short though, and despite Dinobot 2 saying it's not over, we don't ever see them battle again, which I think is a really big lost opportunity. Seeing both Transmetal 2s going at it full force should be really cool, but we really don't get to see it, unfortunately. I kind of feel like even Quick Strike and Silverbolt had a few throwdowns after their debut together. So it's a lost opportunity. I think it comes from the fact they introduced them so late into Season 3, because Season 3 had a ton to cram into it. And then we do get the final scene as well, where second to final scene, where the metaphysical spark stuff happens. Cheetor is struggling, and there's a noticeable change in Cheetor's persona and his portrayal, where he's now very self-aware. He's acting much more. He's trying to be more. He's trying to be that older teenager, trying to be taken seriously. So he's got a little bit of an attitude to him now. Cheetor describes it as cyber puberty. Yes, that's the thing. I think the bigger thing here is that the voice actor was actually aware enough to actually change how he was portraying Cheetor. The voice is deeper now, which is a subtle touch, but I think it's a really appropriate one, and I don't think it's one that you would normally think to do. So good on him, or good on the director for pointing that out. However it came about. Perfect call. So, all in all, I think I'm going to give Feral Scream Part 2, I'm also going to give it a passable rating, which is average for an episode of Beast Wars. Yes, it's a cool debut, but again, I feel like it's muddled by what should have been a cool mystery and suspense story that gets blown out of the water way too early. I feel like there's a big missed opportunity with the storytelling in this one. And yeah, like the fight scene with the Transmetals just didn't last long enough for my tastes. You get enough to show that Cheetor is cool, but not enough to show just how much these two could throw down if given the chance. So that is another review from me. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you for the next episode. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.